This will be video number 27 on the odds and ends hitting this engine, and today we'll be talking about the fuel mixer and what I have learned about fuel mixers over the years. So in the plan it shows the fuel mixer as part of this valve body. I don't make it that way because it's too difficult to do changes to the carburetor without changing this whole thing. But what I've done over the years, I've discovered that making a fuel mixer that'll slide right on there with an O-ring, and you can change it easy, and when you're experimenting you can try different fuel mixers and so forth, and I make almost all of them the same with a 3/8 fit, and it's a 3/8 O-ring, and you can see it just goes on there easily, nice and tight. And that works out much better for me. And I try to make the needle valves the same. The more things that I can make the same on them, the better. So this is what I came up with for a finished one for this. And it's basically exactly to this plan, only it's removable. And I just did a few cuts in here to make it look like a fancy fuel mixer instead of just a plain old one. So the needle valves are a large darning needle that I have quite a few of, and I think I bought them off of Amazon. I'll show you one. These are quite large. I got probably 25 or 30 of them for $5, I think, at one time, and I'm still using them. That's the size of them. And I should measure the diameter. Yeah, they're well, just under 50 thousandths. So they work really good for needle valves because they're plenty long, easy to handle, and the taper is very good because it doesn't have to go in real far. The taper is fairly short, and I like that. I'm going to make the body of it first. And that's made out of 1/2 inch. I'll get a piece of 1/2 inch brass and we'll cut it off the length. I'm going to use the collet chuck to do this with. You can use a 3-jaw chuck. I think it would do just about as good a job. But I like the collet chuck because I don't have to worry so much about hitting my knuckles on the spinning chuck or anything. We can work closer to it. I'll put the piece of 1/2 inch in there. I'm not going to mark the length of it yet. I'm going to do a little work first. I'm going to face it off. And the reason I'm doing this is to get a good center when I drill the hole with a fresh center drill. That's exactly right. The collet chuck is pretty good. It's exactly centered. I'm going to drill through there with an 1/8 inch hole. That's just a pilot hole for the drills to follow. 1 inch 160. So I'm going to make sure I go in there at least that with the starting drill. An 1.25 inches for this. Just a little extra. So now I'm going to find out what the smallest diameter is and drill all the way through with that. So it shows this diameter is 9/32, and that's the smallest diameter. This 1/4 inch is what I have in the receptacle that you put the put the fuel mixer onto. So that's a 1/4 inch. You come over here, Jim, I'll show you. This gives you the 1/4 inch right here. So it's going to be the same as this when it's finished. And what I'm going to do is take a 9/32 drill and I'm going to drill all the way through that part. If I have a pilot hole, I have to use a brass drill. it's 390. So that depth is 390. Yeah, 390, right on the money. So when I'm saying it's 390 deep, I'm talking about the outside fluke, not the point of the drill. So I'm going to just start that in so the thing's just biting. And then I'll zero this and run it in 390. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Okay. So now I'm going to pull this out and mark the length of it. Part it off. That's the total length on that is 1/160. 1 inch, 160 thousandths. I'm going to part that piece off at that. So what I'm going to do is re-zero this and go 1/160. Make sure I got enough there. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 1/160 right there. I know it says 140, but it's really 160. I'm going to set the parting tool up and just touch the edge of it. And now I'm going to back it off. And I'm going to run this in, zero it. And I'm going to go 62 thousandths. So that should be the right edge of the cutting tool should be right flush with the front. So now turn this around and go to the other end. Now I'm just going to put in a carbide rounded tip tool so I can have a curve at the end of what I'm doing. Actually, first I'm gonna bore the inside first. I've got this cross slide set at about 33 degrees, which I usually leave it there most of the time. And so I'm going to make that just a 33 degree flute on the front edge, like this one. Go in at 33 degrees on the inside here, and then I'll do the outside the same and create this feature. I'm going to do basically the same thing on the outside. I'm just going to go in a little bit and then I'll come over. And I want to see how much I'm going to come over. 470. So I'm just going to make a mark here. Well, I'm going to have to pull out a little further. So this is just for looks. The dimensions don't really matter that much, but I'm going to just try to do it the same as the other one. There's 470. So when I do the first cut, I'll go to there, and then I won't go beyond it from then on. Right there. Just double check that that's right. Yep, that's the line. So I'm going to set the stop so I can't go beyond that. That looks pretty good. I think I got a little more than I got on the other one anyway. So now I'm just going to round that with a file. On this, all I did is go in and make a line, and I left about 300 thousandths in there. So I'm going to take this out and turn it around and do that feature. So I've got to take and mark this at 300 thousandths. So I can only go in about 30 thousandths or 40 thousandths probably. I guess all I went in was about 25 thousandths on that. That looks pretty good. You'll be able to start seeing it take shape a little bit. There it is. So now I've got to put a flat on here and drill the hole through for the needle valve. So I've already put the chuck in here. I'm just going to put a couple of parallels with a piece of foam in between them and drop this on the front. Now I'm going to center up this way and that way. So the center this way is not a problem because I can just eyeball that because it really isn't that important. But the center this way is a little different. Okay, I'm going to use the vice jaws to center it. I'm just going to crank this over. So I think I get the center. That's good. Close enough for that way. Now I'm going to drill a hole. Now the hole through there, I'm not sure what that is. Let's check it. So this is a spray bar. We're going to make that next and I'll give you all the dimensions on it. But what I need to know now is this diameter, which is 162 thousandths. That's a number 20 drill. Now this is not a brass drill because I don't have a pilot hole. So I'm okay to drill with a regular drill. Before I move that off, I'm going to put a little bit of a flat on there. The width of the flat doesn't really matter. What I've got here is a 7/32. It just happened to be what I pulled out of the drawer. It could be anywhere out to here or anything over the diameter of what you're going to solder in there, which is 3/16. So it could be a 3/16. Let me bring it down till it touches and then take about 15, try 15 thousandths. And that's it. Now the reason I put that there is there's a piece of 3/16 rod that I make the spray bar out of, and I'm going to leave part of it 3/16, and the little flange will hit against there and give me proper soldering position. I'm just going to shine this up just a little bit to make it easier to buff later. Get some of the tool marks out of it. Okay, now we'll switch over and work on the spray bar. I'm going to get some 3/16 brass for the next piece. Put a little bluing on this, so I can mark it at 340. The reason I cut it a little strong is I'm going to just touch it on the sander to even it up. So the first side I'm going to do is this. And the reason I'm doing that is so I'll have more to grab when I do this. So I want a good grip in the collet when I do the thread and turn this. So I'm going to do the long side first. It's turned down to 1/8 for 345. These aren't real fussy measurements. So that should be, I'm just going to do that with a dial indicator. I'm going to zero out the dial indicator here and go 1, 2, 340. Stop. I'm going to turn this down to 1/8 inch. And that's the part that you slip the fuel line onto. So it isn't real fussy. You got 5 more to go. We'll leave this just a tiny bit oversized. This is the fuel line I've used. As you can see, that fits on there nice. That's perfect. So now I'm going to drill that out. Drill a number 50 drill on this side. I'm going in 450 on this one. There's 400. 30, 40, 50. I'm going to flip that piece around and put in a 1/8. Okay, so now I've got the 1/8 of the fuel line, which is right there, and it's about the right length. So now I'm going to turn this part, which this is the part that goes through the body of the fuel mixer. So that's got to be 160 for, well, let's go for a total length here. 160, and it's 865. 160, 865. So I'm going to put this in here just a little bit and see where 865 comes from the end. 865 is right there. I'm going to lock the stop. So this area in here should be basically 500 thousandths, a ½ inch long to go through the thing. So just check that. That's 20 over. So I'm going to take out just about 10 of that. It'll just stick out 10 thousandths. So what I'm going to do is turn this part, which is 160, basically take 110 thousandths off of it, 120 thousandths off of it. Another 5. Let's see if that'll fit through there now. Let's see, that's just starting in. I'm going to just hit that with a file to smooth it up. There it is, nice fit. I just got a solder joint there. That's perfect. Now I'm going to turn that around and do the end with the thread on it. So this end gets to turn to 140, and that's the there's a 632 thread that goes on here, so that's the reason it's 140. Actually 138 to be precise, I think. I want to leave a shoulder to solder against of about a 16. got a few thousandths to go. I've got 2 thousandths to go. Put the thread on there. 168 exactly. So I'm going to put a 640 thread on the end here, about halfway down. I think that's about 10 threads. That's about 10. Let's see what it looks like. No, it has to go a little further than that. Now we're going to drill that. The number 50 drill, same as we went in on the other end. I want to go in 750 from this end. And hopefully it shouldn't break through to the other side. Should be about 50 thousandths left. $750 right there. So if I did things right, there should be about 50 or 60 thousandths to drill through with this number 60 drill, which is a very short distance. If I tried to drill that in all the way with a 60 drill, of course it would clog up and ring the drill off in there, and then just throw the piece away. Let's see if this is about right. $60, $55, $70. Oh, it's pretty deep. There it went. About 80,000, 85,000 deep. You can see why I did that. You drill in from both ends and leave a little piece in the middle to drill through with the 60 drill. Because if this drill clogs up the flutes here, it'll twist off very easy. You won't even feel it. It'll just be gone, and the piece will be junk because you can't get it out of there. So as you can see that I drew this out. I went in 750 from this end and 450 from that end, and I left a little bit in the middle to drill out with a 60 drill. And that's just the right size for that needle, so the needle will plug it. Where is the needle here? When I put this needle in there,
slow.
You can see that there's clearance around it for fuel, and then this stops right there. It won't go in any deeper than that, and that's where the orifice is for the fuel to come through, the metered orifice where this needle pulls back. So what I'm going to do is drill a hole through here when I put it into the body, and that'll be above that. So the needle valve will be below that. So the fuel can come through here and come out and go into the orifice that makes it a fuel mixer. So now we're going to need to make the needle valve for this. Here's one that's just right. See, that screws in about 3 or 4 turns and stops. So this is the next thing we're going to make. To make the needle valve, the first thing I'm going to do is put a piece of 3/16 in here. First thing this time I have to face it off. I got to get the tap drilled for 640 drill. 640. So the tap drill for a 640 is a number 33 drill, and I'm going to go in there probably 3/8 of an inch top. Actually, I got to go a little extra for the end of the tap. So I'm just going to go in there about 4 threads and then back it out to clear it. 3. About all I can get out of that tap is 3 turns, and it's clogged. That'll be the threaded part. I'm just going to part that off. I've got about 300 thousandths on that other one, so let's just try to do the same thing there. That's the threaded part. Screws onto here, hopefully. All the way on. Now we'll just make the little cap for it, the little knurled cap. So what I use for the caps is usually a 3/8 brass rod and knurl it, and then soft solder it onto the other part. Then I'll drill a hole in it and put the needle in and solder it in there. The first thing we got to do is face this off. So we're going to knurl that. That looks good. Okay. I like to see a little band around both sides of that knurl so that just gives it a little more class. Okay, in order to make that easy to solder, I'm just going to go in there with a 3/16 end mill and just make a little pocket so that I can slide this into, hopefully. See if that'll fit. Yep, drops right in there nicely. Okay, I can part this off. There's the starting of it. What I'm going to do now is soft solder this together. Then I'm going to drill the needle hole from this side. We got to get a toothpick. Hopefully that's in there, right? That's it. Now we have to drill a hole for the needle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drill for the 640 thread. It's the tap drill. And I'm going to go in through this thread and just make a dimple in the bottom. I'm not going to drill through, I'm just going to make a dimple so when I go in there with the small drill, it'll find that center and come right out the middle. Whoop! I gotta hold on to it tighter than that. I just want to mark it. That's it. 56 drill. I think a 55 is too big, but we'll see what happens. A 56. Once I get the hole through there, I can turn it over and put it in a vise. Let's see what happens here. I think it's going to work. Yes, it will work. Boy, just barely. I'm going to go in there with a number 54 drill, just a few thousandths, so that it'll have a place to collect the solder. So what I'm going to do is screw this down as far as I can and then back it off a couple of turns. Then we're going to put this needle in here till it bottoms out. It goes in the hole. Then I'm going to solder it and cut it off and plane it. So in other words, I can go in further than that. You see what I've done? This needle is now plugging the hole completely. So I'm going to take this and screw it in a few threads. 1, 2, 3. Now I have more to go. As that hole wears, you can keep screwing this in further, because it will expand the hole a little bit as you do it. So you don't want to start at the bottom. You want to start about 2 threads up. That's the depth that's going in. So I'm going to go over to the sander and I'm going to rough this part of take the plating off this part of the needle so the solder will grip it good. I'm going to put a little flux on it. Now this is a steel needle, so I'm going to have to use acid flux on this. So I'm going to hit the part of the needle that's going to be soldered. A good coat of acid. And I'm going to insert it. And then I'm going to put just a touch of flux on there, standard flux. So you've got both fluxes on there. And I gotta have something to stick this into. Hold it up. Right there. There we are. That's perfect. Hopefully this doesn't fall apart now. I'm just going to take a pair of pliers and nip that off of there. I'll take it over and just sand that off smooth at the top and rebuff it. Perfect. Perfect. There's one more thing you have to do with the needle valve. You have to get a indicator mark on there so you know where it is. I just take a file and make a little notch in it. If I can do it.
Got it, okay.
So when you set your needle valve, you can see exactly where it is. Perfect. You see that?
Yep.
So now I'm going to solder the spray bar into here. And you say, well, you got to put the hole in it. Well, I'm going to put the hole in it afterwards, and because I want it exactly right. I'll show you how I do that. Put a little flux on there, and this little flange goes on the flat that you made, hopefully. I'm just going to hold that up like this. Actually like this. Touch it with solder and we cut it. The big torch is too much. Yeah, it's hot. That flowed all the way around, I hope. Yeah, I'm going to do the other side. Cool it off. So now the spray bar is in there. I want to get the hole in it. And the hole goes in this side, right smack in the middle. And what you do is you make a little plug with the 060 hole here. And you've seen I've drilled it in with a number 50 drill down to about here. And the 060 is just the last maybe 150, 200 thousandths. So that goes in there. And take this over the drill press, and that's going to be right perfect. So there's the finished mixing valve, and I think it came out pretty nice. It's not beautiful, but it's not hard to look at. I'll do a little more cleaning on it to get the solder off of it. This will be the end of number 27. And last week we ended, and we had a little click and squeak in this, and all it was I had too many coils in the exhaust spring, and when the exhaust spring was all the way up, it was causing a little tension, and the cam would go by, and the cam would snap by because of the pressure from that spring. So I just cut a couple of coils off of that exhaust spring, and it went away. So next week I'm going to show you what I know about gas tanks, and this is the gas tank for this engine. As you see, it goes on there with magnets. That'll be the size of it, and I'll show you exactly how to make these. And this has a pickup tube in it. And the pickup tube has a check ball at the bottom, and it also has a filter. I can take it apart here to show you. So what I use for filters is these tiny little filters, and those are made for fuel injectors in cars, and they're very, very fine mesh. Nothing will get through that, not a piece of dust or anything. So if this is made right, that fits into here, and there's an O-ring in the cap. You can see the O-ring, and what that O-ring does is it seals this off, and that's the only seal that's in the whole tank, is that. And the fuel pickup tube comes out of this side. I haven't quite finished this yet, but I'll have it finished by next week, and we'll go through how to make this, because it takes a lot of work to make the fuel tube if you're just doing one from scratch, and you don't know exactly how the dimensions and so forth. But I'll give you all the dimensions and so forth, so it'll make it a lot easier for you. Good. These are nice fuel tanks. Quite easy to make too. So that's the end of the fuel mixer video. And thank you for watching, and if you liked what you saw, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot. Thank you very much.